All right, we're here with Brent Kaeding. He's won 3 dirt cups. The king of California. I mean, pretty much won more races than anybody out here. But to start off the talk of dirt cup, I was told by my crew chief to ask you if you remember the dirt cup that you weren't allowed to race.
That I wasn't allowed to race?
Yeah. You apparently crashed on a prelim night and got booted.
No, not true.
No?
Not true.
What happened then? Jimmy's lied.
So myself and Dave Bradway were battling for the lead of the heat race. In those days, you had to run first or second in the heat to make the A. I slid him. He slid me. It happened about 3 or 4 times. And he put me about out of the ballpark in turn 1. And they canceled the event, that heat race. It was the last lap. So Bradway, the front end knocked out. My car was junk. And so they put me in the D and put Bradway in the A.
Oh,
So we chose to go home.
Oh, wow.
800 to start then. So I went and grabbed Jim Raper, not by the throat, but I grabbed him and got my 600 cash. And a week after we got home, I was sent a $600 start money. So we actually made $1,200 and never ran Saturday night.
That's amazing. Wow. That's pretty cool. Jimmy, he was laughing like a schoolgirl when he was like, "Oh yeah, you got to ask Brent about that one dirt cup." So,
and I told Jim we wouldn't be back until he wasn't there, and unfortunately, I believe he passed the next year, which was a horrible thing because he was a great guy.
Right. Now, I've talked to Bud and Tim a lot about your dirt cup success, and they both told me, you ended up with 3 dirt cup championships, but there could have been easily, 6 or 7. Was that a race that kind of haunted you throughout your career, or you just seem to have bad luck on Saturdays?
Oh, it haunted us, yeah, for sure. That was the one race I really wanted to win, and it eluded me for years. We actually were paid for winning the race 5 times, but we only get, the actual. We ended up with 4 trophies, but we got paid for winning 5, but they only say that we won 3.
I got to have the story on that.
Yeah. How's that work?
So back in the day, they used to put the leader out front, and then lap cars and cars on the lead lap started double file behind you. So I was the leader, and Jeff Swindell was running 5th in line, so he should have been on the 2nd row outside, although he started directly behind me on the bottom. And there was like 3 to go, and he slid me going into turn 1, and I drove up the fence. And today I couldn't even tell you if I finished the event, but or where I finished, but they paid me for winning.
Wow, that's incredible.
And then we won in 91 was the first time we won. And then in 93, Tim Green and I battled the same way. And we drag raced down the front chute to the checkered, and the tower's not there anymore. But if you knew the track back then, the tower was not in line with the start-finish line. So I was actually leading the race at the start-finish line, but the scores were farther down in the tower. So they gave him the win. I was actually ahead of him at the start-finish line. So I had the trophy at one point, and they actually took it away, and they shipped me a trophy, and Jim paid Billy. Billy went up there and had him by the throat at that time, and so they paid us for winning that year as well.
Wow. So we tried to get a hold of Bobby Burrow, but I don't know why we weren't able to get a hold of him in weird situation. But talk about winning it again for your 3rd time in 96. What was one of those 3 harder? I mean, it seemed like 96, you had a little bit of a gap, or I'm sorry, in 96 and 99, it seemed like you had a little bit of gap between all 3 of them.
Oh, they were all hard. I mean, if you've been to the Dirt Cup, you know how hard it is. You got to run good. You know, back early days, you had to win the heat or run second, like I said. And at that time, it was typically on the fence. So if you weren't starting up near the front, you weren't going to win the race. But I couldn't tell you one year from the next, to be honest. You remember the ones you lost, not the ones you won. But we had a lot of great times up there. That was the biggest, that was our Knoxville Nationals out here on the West Coast. It was always an amazing event. Probably the best fans on the West Coast were always at Skagit each and every year, and you watched them grow up through the years. And always a lot of fun there, but a lot of heartbreak up there as well.
So you're referring to the fans, and I have a lot of fans tell me I'm new to the Dirt Cup. I started coming in 2011, and I love the race, but people tell me it wasn't like it was during your heyday. Can you tell us what the atmosphere was like and how the weekend went compared to now? Like, they seem to be bringing it back now, but I think it's great now, and everyone tells me it was much more fun in your time.
Well, back then the racers, I think, were more in tune with the race fan. When the race was over, today's day and age, if you didn't make the feature, you're pulling out of the pit area before the races are over. And if you're in the feature and you weren't on the podium, you might be on the way out. Where back then, people hung around. It was a contest at some weekly events, You wanted to make sure you were the last one to leave the pit area, not the first one. And so, just a lot of interaction with the racers, race fans, everybody. A lot more camaraderie between the race teams themselves. We had more 2-day shows. Everybody spent more time together. We barbecued breakfast, lunch, and dinner each and every day up there. We'd get up there a couple days early, and Mr. Miller or Al Peterson or one of my car owners or crew members would feed 100 people at every meal, and it was just a good time, whether it was race fans or competitors.
Now, speaking of the food up there, there was a Wendy's drive-in right here that this old guy had a Anthony Simone shirt on, and he said you guys bought all the French fries and burgers and stuff. And can you tell me about your guys' trips up?
I don't remember those either. No, it was the trips back typically. No, we'd have food fights going up and down the highway, whether it was Skagit or other events. The year I left, when they put me in the D main, Anthony said, "If you're leaving, I'm leaving." I think he was in the B that year, but he just said, "If you're not racing, I'm not racing." So we hit the highway and had food fights all the way home. We probably had more fun than most of the guys that stayed at the track. But you'd pull over, go into 7-Eleven, steal the relish tray, Pepto. Bottles of Pepto you'd buy, bottles of mustard, whatever it took, go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and throw mashed potatoes and gravy at each other. It was just something to pass the time and have a good time going down the highway.
Oh, man. God bless Anthony.
Yeah. Coming home, they pulled up behind us and ran into our trailer, and Anthony climbed out onto the hood. We were only going about 40 miles an hour probably back then, towing. He climbed on the hood of his Suburban and up the back door of our trailer, and we had a spare car back in the day on the roof. So he was sitting on our spare car drinking a beer while we were driving down the highway.
Jesus. Jeez.
Would you say that Dirt Cup was probably your biggest win of your career?
Yeah, I'd say it probably was. I mean, Turkey Night was huge, but that was in a midget. And, as time went on, probably the Trophy Cup was just as big. I mean, it was as tough to win as Skagit was. But, yeah, they were big events. We always interacted with, like I said, with the fans. I mean, back in the day, and this is going back a long time, when T-shirts were $12 and $15, we'd do $25,000 in sales at the Dirt Cup.
Jesus.
Unbelievable.
Dom, you're happy with like 4, aren't you?
Yeah, no, exactly. Dude, thank you for coming on. This is so cool. I could talk to you for hours, but these kinds of stories are just, they're so
priceless.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear.
Thank you very much, Brent.
Okay, guys, have fun up there, Dom. Good luck to you.
Thank you. We'll see you, boys.
All right.